In this lecture, I will revisit the general principles of research ethics by discussing how and where they arise in the different activities in which scientists may be engaged in the research practice. I will also introduce additional ethical concerns specific to certain activities. We have seen that in many cases, the answers to the ethical questions arising while doing research cannot be reduced to straightforward binary choices between what is right and what is wrong. Ethics can seldom be reduced to just a set of obligations and rights, to-dos and not to-dos. The ethical space in which researchers operate is not binary but continuous, ranging from clearly unethical to acceptable conducts. Behaving ethically means deciding responsibly after honestly and carefully scrutinizing whether a conduct may endanger integrity. Ethical reasoning should be consequence-oriented and focus on maximizing or promoting the collective advancement of research and, ultimately, societal welfare. In case of doubt, it is wise to follow the safest route that minimizes the risks. Let us first focus on the stage in which a research is carried out. Researchers have an obligation to know the area in which they work and which contributions have been given by others to honestly place their contribution in the proper context. They should give credit and not pretend unjustified novelty of their contribution. The extreme case of this attitude is plagiarism, appropriation of another researcher's ideas or results without giving appropriate record and with the intention that they be taken as own work. Besides plagiarism, one should also never incur in fabrication and falsification. When it comes to publication, researchers should make sure that the articles they write do not contain discriminating statements, for example, in gender, political, or social terms. Most important, researchers must watch for text plagiarism, including self-plagiarism. In addition to misconducts, there are bad practices that should be avoided, induced by the obsession to publish, which sometimes affects young researchers. The search for the least publishable unit leads to a proliferation of papers providing tiny contribution. Flooding the community with too many papers of little relevance is bad, distracts researchers from focusing on interesting problems, and abuses reviewers' time. This goes hand in hand with the unjustified proliferation of new journals and conferences whose scientific quality is often, at best, questionable. Even worse, researchers should watch for predatory publishers and not get trapped. Double submission is another serious publication misconduct. It can be defined as the submission of a paper for publication in a journal or in refereed conference proceedings while it is under concurrent submission to another publication. The practice of duplicate submission is considered unethical because it wastes the time of editors, peer reviewers, and potentially readers. Submitting an extended version of a conference paper to an archival journal with proper explanation to the editors is instead legitimate. Resubmission to a new venue of a paper that was previously rejected by another is also legitimate. It is bad, however, not to take into serious consideration possible comments from the original reviewers in the preparation of the manuscript for the second submission. Think also that an original reviewer might be asked to review the new submission. Another ethical issue concerning publication is who should be listed as a co-author. The answer is all those who contributed. Deliberately omitting an individual who provided substantial contribution is unethical, as would be listing as an author someone who hasn't contributed. Deciding what makes a contribution substantial may, in some cases, raise questions, for example, in the case of large projects. No ready-made binary solution is available, but ethical judgment is necessary. The problem of paper authorship is a special case of the more general problem of properly attributing intellectual property of research results. Because scientific research may lead to results that have practical value, intellectual property is a legal right to control the application of an idea in a specific context through a patent, or control the expression of an idea through a copyright. It is very important that all researchers who contributed substantially to the idea participate in this exploitation. When a paper is published, it may happen that it contains mistakes that went undetected in the review process. When researchers become aware of that, they should not ignore or hide them, but they should instead make public statements, for example, in their website, correcting the mistake. Ethical issues also arise in paper reviewing. First, accepting to review is a community service. When asked to review a paper, one should reject the request only if there are objective reasons. For example, one is already busy reviewing or currently engaged in other substantial service activities. If one accepts, time and effort should be allocated to this crucial task. The provided review report must be detailed, constructive, rigorous, and avoid bias with respect to the authors, if their identity is disclosed, and with respect to the subject. Reviewers should treat the paper as confidential information and should review it fairly. Breaking confidentiality and fairness are serious misconducts. We can summarize the ethical issues arising as a reviewer as an instance of the golden rule of ethics. Don't do unto others what you don't want done unto you. That is, when you act as a reviewer, do what you expect from a reviewer when you are an author. Publication may also be affected by conflict of interests due to the author-reviewer relationship. For example, they are relatives, they are two members of the same research group, they have a recent research collaboration, they belong to the same department, one is or was a PhD student of the other, and so on. Occurrence of a conflict of interests is a serious misconduct. Whenever one submits a paper or is asked to review a paper, one should always prevent insurgence of conflicts of interest. Very often they are explicitly stated, but in case of doubt, one should explicitly raise the potential problem up front. Confidentiality, fairness, and freedom from conflict of interests are key ethical principles also when researchers are engaged in evaluation of individuals, progress of a PhD student, hiring or promoting researchers, and evaluation of research projects for funding. Proper management of research funding raises an additional specific ethical issue. Funding money must be used wisely and according to the scope for which one has been funded. Public funding comes from taxpayers and is allocated to advance the frontiers of knowledge and address societal problems. Any misuse of research money destroys trust and shakes the public confidence in the integrity of science. As a last point, what happens if a researcher witnesses an objective, serious violation to ethical standards? He or she should not become a partner in misconduct because misconduct weakens the health of the self-regulating research processes. Because institutions have procedures in place to investigate, report, and react objectively, firmly, and unemotionally, one should refer to them. In this process, confidentiality is absolutely essential.